Social media isn't hard. Your content is just finding your audience at the wrong time online. There are two main states your audience is in when spending time scrolling online: scroll mode and story mode, aka the buyer state. And if you can spot the difference between these two situations, you'll understand exactly what I mean and set yourself up to win on social media. Chances are you create content for yourself or for your business, and ideally you wanting those viewers to take some sort of action or steps towards your business, right? If your viewer isn't in what we call the buyer state and is just cruising along in scroll mode, getting them to take action is going to be a whole lot harder. The only thing holding you back is understanding the psychology of how people engage with content in different mindsets. So I'm going to break that psychology down and show you a bunch of different examples and show you the tactical changes you should make to your content to drive better outcomes. It's not some secret hack or formula as well, it's just understanding basic human psychology in the context of social media and whether or not you can get a viewer to feel a specific type of emotion that compels them to take action. Content that taps emotion converts to action. So your job is just to get people to feel that emotion. If you understand the shift from scroll mode to story mode, well, that's when you stop chasing views and start chasing action. Hey, my name is Dave and I've grown a channel to over 110,000 followers and over 400,000 followers online using this framework. And I'm going to show you how to do it again from zero. By the end of this video, you'll clearly understand why these two states are make or break for your content, why one type of content performs way better than the other and how to leverage it, and how to create your content and design it for the buyer state. But let's start with the basics. Let's first clearly define what these two states are. You don't have a content problem, you have a timing problem. You're finding and meeting strangers in scroll mode and expecting buying behavior. There are only two states your audience is in online. Number one is scroll mode. This is dopamine driven, low intention, in layman's terms, killing time on the toilet. And number two is story mode, i.e. the buyer state. This is problem solving, intentional, sitting behind a laptop with their search bar open. Almost every meaningful conversion that's ever happened online has started with the buyer state. Action and conversions are exponentially less likely to happen when someone's in scroll mode and they've just got their brain switched off. Action is much more likely to happen in the buyer state because people are sitting behind their laptop with the search bar open, actively solving problems. Purchasing is all about solving problems. Think about it, right? If you go to the grocery store, well, it's because you need to put food on the table for tonight. If you need to get somewhere, you can purchase a bus ticket. At the root of every purchase is a problem being solved. Scroll mode is the equivalent of your parents coming home after a long day's work and spending 2 hours on the couch just relaxing and turning their brains off. Now, think about it. If you had to go up and approach them halfway through this chilling time and ask them to make an online purchase, well, they'd be pretty upset, right? Because they're looking for entertainment, not commitment during this time. And it's important to understand that your viewers have the same mindset on scroll mode. Now, if we flip the switch to story mode, aka the buyer state, this is like somebody walking into Home Depot while busy renovating their kitchen and asking for advice on countertops. This is a problem-solving mindset. The online equivalent is somebody typing into the search bar, how do I get more leads on Meta? What is the best international payment processor for my business? The problem-solving mindset with intention. And that means that what you're missing here in the big picture is that the content you're putting out is directly correlated to the type of action people are going to take with you. People are far less likely to take action if their intention behind using social media is just to relax and turn their brains off. If they just want to sit down and scroll for 2 hours, and that's when your content comes across their feed, they're going to be way less likely to take action and steps towards you and your business. And the gist of this is that short form content does have a place, but we're going to get to that a little later in this video. But right now, we're going to look at if the buyer state is where action moves, why does long form content win so reliably there? And if you want to know how you can drive more action and apply this to your content right now, I'm currently doing free channel reviews for a limited time. I'll leave that link in the description down below. So if scroll mode gets you attention, then buyer state gets you decisions. And the format that wins in buyer state, long form, every single time. Long form content isn't about just making your videos longer. It's about trying to meet your audience when they're in a problem solving mindset, not when they're looking for memes. And where's the first place you think about going when you need to solve a problem online? Google or YouTube? And who owns YouTube? Google, right? Meaning, if you solve problems that your ideal viewer or audience is desperate to fix, well, YouTube or Google is going to recommend them videos, and you can be that video. Longform is about people typing in their problems into a search bar. How do I win on social media? How do I get more leads from YouTube? If your business solves a specific problem and you make videos about that, you can be the solution to their problem. Longform also has the potential to be your best salesperson, right? It never sleeps. It can prove that you're an authority in your space, create trust with your audience, and position you as the natural solution to your audience's problems. Basically, one well-structured long-form video is an asset that can work for you 24/7. It generates views, collects potential buyers, and the best part is that you don't have to post them daily. Another big plus to all of this is that there's an AI content flood that's about to hit the market, where AI is flooding the game of content with so much media that it's going to make it so hard to stand out. And I personally believe that this human-first long-form content like this video might be one of the only things on the other side, is because people aren't craving AI generated content, they're craving human first style content. And this works as a plus for you and me and for your business. Here's an actionable takeaway for this section. Pick a pain point in your niche and write down the following title: how to solve problem X without pain point Y. As an example, how to get more YouTube leads without having to post daily. So if long form is where conversion and action actually happens, what is the job of short form? Spoiler, it's not sales, but it is something just as valuable. Think of short form like the first hello at a party. Nobody's closing a deal 2 minutes after they walk in, but that first impression, that's what gets people curious enough to want to talk more. Most people treat shorts like they're supposed to do everything for their content. Get views, build trust, sell the product. But at the end of the day, you end up with millions of views and 0 sales. And that's because short form actually has one main important job, and that is to make people aware of you. So think about it like this. Short form creates curiosity, long form drives action and conversions. Shorts are essentially your testing lab. They're like sparks that start a fire and let your audience say, hey, wait, tell me a little bit more about you. They are so good for feedback. They tell you what hooks are working, pain points are landing, and what your audience is resonating with. And once you get that data, you drive that into creating your long form episodes so that you're building episodes people are actually interested in watching. So now that you've got your long form episodes that people are actually going to watch, how do you design them so that people take action and actually convert through your videos? So remember what we said earlier? Scroll mode is where people are swiping away from problems, and buyer state is when they're sitting down to actively solve them. But here's the catch. What you say in that buyer state mode dictates and decides everything. Think about this. They've already made the shift from distraction to intention. They're sitting behind their laptop wrestling with the pain point they're currently trying to solve. They're no longer after entertainment, they're after relief. And on my previous channel early on, I got polite comments, but often no action. It wasn't until I started scripting around fears and problems that my audience was having that my content finally started to hit and land. I wasn't another video in their feed. I was the person who deeply understood what they were going through and solved that problem over and over again. That's the psychology of buyer state. First, you need to understand what the pain point is, make it real, and then show that it actually has a fix. That's where you hand them the map of how to solve it, i.e. your business, your product, your service, or taking action towards you. Odds are you're already creating content for your business, and that business exists to serve a pretty specific problem or pain point, right? Now, it's exactly the same concept, but just online. If all your videos are just around tips and tricks, well, you'll become forgettable. You need to understand and reflect back people's fears and then solve their pain points so that you're actually offering people a way out, and that's how they feel seen. And if you deeply understand this and you can show their problem and set it up in the first 20 seconds and show you have a way out, well, you'll gain their trust, get people to lean in, and potentially even take action with you. Here's an actionable takeaway you can use when creating your next long form video. Write this at the top of the script just to keep in mind. What fear is my buyer sitting with when they open YouTube in the buyer state? Now, you can use that just to better understand the psychology that you're solving that problem for them throughout your video. And use that to make your opening scene hint within the first 20 seconds that you're going to solve that fear and pain point, and that's what'll keep them watching. This leaves us with a pretty big question. How do we tie everything in this video together? Now that you're starting to understand how different these two mindsets are on social media, let's look at another big mistake that people are making in their content. Trying to drag people from scroll mode over to story mode. I want you to think about this from your perspective so you can better understand what I'm trying to say here and relate. Imagine you were scrolling on short form content, right? Getting all these little dopamine hits, your brain's going at 200 kilometers an hour. A video comes across your feed that says, go check out my YouTube video. So you go from scroll mode to story mode, expecting more dopamine. What happens when you land on that 12-minute long form video? Well, there's no more dopamine. It's slow, long problem solving, right? It's important to understand these two energies don't mix. So trying to drive traffic from short form to long form and long form to short form, unfortunately, they don't mix. Ideally, you want to keep them separate. Short form does its job and long form does its job as well. The funnel isn't about moving people between these two states. It's about making sure that each state has its own platform, content, and purpose. Just to summarize here, short form is like the spark. This is where you're showing up in people's downtime. You're not trying to sell, you're not trying to convert, you are just trying to provide value and show people who you are. You're trying to get them to know, like, and trust you. Long form is where you're creating the depth. This is where you're trying to convert towards your business. Long form content, the buyer state, is where you create depth. This is where you win business. People arriving to your videos in problem-solving mode. Your job is to give them proof, clarity, and a single next step. And if you want actionable wins like this for your content right now, I'm currently doing free channel reviews. I'll leave that link in the description down below. So this begs the question, how do you integrate short-form and long-form content into your social media strategy? What I suggest is clear separation. Have a short form specific channel and a long form specific channel as well. This way, your two energies don't mix, and the YouTube platform and other social media platforms are going to surface your videos from each channel to the right viewer at the right time in the right mindset. And this is the key, because then you're not mixing your energies. So when people are coming across your content, they're finding it at the right time and are going to be a lot more likely to watch it when it comes across their feed. We started this video by splitting content and social media into two main states, scroll mode and story mode. And if there's only one thing you take away from this entire video, it's that views don't pay the bills. Action and decisions do. Because most people end up chasing vanity metrics with their content. They're trying to get more views and go viral, but at the end of the day, they haven't booked any calls and their calendars are still empty. So you need to understand, if you want to win with your content, you need to shift your focus from views to action. So now that you understand the value that scroll mode and story mode both bring to the table, your next step to winning on content and social media is to start placing ads in the newspaper. I'll tell you exactly why social media has become the modern newspaper on steroids in this video right over here.